This episode is in partnership with Authority Magazine. Authority Magazine, a Medium publication, is devoted to sharing in-depth and interesting interviews featuring people who are authorities in business, pop culture, wellness, social impact, and tech. So you want to meet a real adventurer, a treasure hunter, a soldier, and a cowboy? Well, stay tuned.
Today we're going to meet the real deal. Jospeh Schur is the publisher of Spencer Magazine and screenwriter.
So where does all the excitement begin and end, for that matter? Joseph, welcome to BIP. Joseph, how does a fellow stick so much experience into one single lifetime?
That's a really good question, Kevin. First of all, I'd like to thank both of you for having me as a guest today.
Hey.
I've been looking forward to this. Your question is very deep. We could, how many hours do we have?
Exactly.
Give us the Cole's Notes version.
The Cole's Notes. Okay. What was the question again?
Exactly.
Treasure hunter, cowboy, soldier, magazine publisher. Like, come on.
Actor, writer, director, producer. Keep building it, keep going. Oh, good Lord. I don't know, how do I fit all this into one lifetime? Well, recently somebody during a wonderful lunch with some colleagues asked me if I would be interested in joining them at a film screening in January, this coming January. And they said to me quite eloquently, if you're going to be around. I had to look at them and say, wait a second, I'm this close to 70. I will be around, I promise. I still have a little bit of life left. But how have I squeezed so much into my life now? I guess I'm an overachiever. I've always juggled many, many things at the same time. I've been an entrepreneur. I'm extremely ambitious, but I love life. I love being part of this world that we've been brought into. And I embrace every day and every moment of that, which is why I launched Spencer, for example, which we launched back in 2019, just before COVID hit, of course. And it's been an exciting journey. My whole life has been exciting. Although if you ask my wife, she'd be like, yeah, I don't want to talk to, but when you say you were a cowboy, no, you were a ranch hand. Come on. Don't glorify it. You were fixing fences all day long. But I'm a romantic. I grew up with John Wayne. So, that's me. But treasure diver, yeah, that was very, very exciting. Being able to spend like 8-10 hours under the water every day and make a living at it, that was pretty cool. But I worked, do you remember Mel Fisher from the Florida Keys? This is where I was a treasure diver. He, one of his captains, because he had 3 ships, one of his captains, I actually worked for when he retired from it, Natasha, of course. And so I worked for him as a salvage/treasure diver. And it was very exciting. Did I find anything? A lot of people ask me that, one of the first questions. And I always tell them, yes, Evinrude, Johnson Motors, sunken boats, whatever garbage on the bottom of the reef I would find, beyond the occasional, ballast stones and cannonballs, but nothing terribly exciting. I did that for about a year, but it was a lot of fun. Not bad for a boy from Toronto.
No kidding. And Joseph, I mean, reading your bio, okay, I understand that you will kind of step back and you had an acting bug ever since you were a young kid.
Sure.
And then you joined the Canadian Armed Forces studying medicine, of all things.
Yes.
Before
I was so good at that, yes.
Before switching to writing. So I want to ask you, what motivated you, first of all, why medicine, and what motivated you to switch into a creative career?
When I was 10 years old, my parents bought me a chemistry set. So by 11, I became a mad scientist. And it was so much fun. I really enjoyed the whole process. And my parents had different ideas for my future. And I was like, no, I'm going into the Army just to annoy you. And I did. And I went in and I studied to be a medic at first. Then I took a lot of courses and they decided, you know what, you'd be a fine doctor. And I was like, okay, let's do the pre-med thing. And I did. Couldn't stand it. But immediately after I left the armed forces, in the regular service, of course, I art imitates life to a certain extent. I ended up going to Hollywood, and I became a physician on TV, small roles, but it was fun. So the idea of actually being a real physician, no, 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 it wasn't for me. Not interested. I'm happy I didn't pursue that. Otherwise, I would not have enjoyed all these other adventures, like the adventures like when I was abducted by aliens when I was in Texas. That was very, very exciting. You didn't see
Were
that?
really abducted by aliens?
True story.
Okay,
Absolutely.
sorry, we have to hear this, Kev.
Okay, so here we go. I was driving from Florida Keys to Hollywood to meet a literary agent because I had just finished a screenplay. And I got my car stolen at a gas station in a little town called Seguin, Texas. And so there I was, penniless pretty much because all my possessions were in my car. So I had to start hitchhiking because I still had to go to Hollywood. That was my dream. And so what happened was I got picked up by these people, and they said, "Hi, how would you like to work at this ranch?" And they drove me like way, way far north to a place called Johnson City, which was Lyndon B. Johnson and Lady Bird, I mean. And so there was this huge ranch, and the people that abducted me were actually kind of like maybe not so PC, but they were illegal aliens. So technically speaking, I was abducted by aliens. True
That's a
story, no
screenwriter
kidding.
in him.
And that's how I became a cowboy. Yes.
That's true. But as you've already told us, you were actually shoveling shit in the barn as opposed to riding a
Oh
ranch.
my goodness. Yeah, there was a lot of that. A lot of like, I mean, my one of my jobs is I had to take care of the horses, but truthfully, I spent most of my days on ATVs because it was like, oh, 3,500 acres in this ranch. It was a pretty large spread. And so my job was basically fixing fences. That was so exciting. So yes, as my wife says very clearly, you weren't a cowboy, you were a ranch hand.
Yeah.
Whatever.
We're not going to be seeing you on the latest version of Yellowstone, I guess, with Kevin Costner.
Oh no, no,
You
no.
never know. Maybe,
You
who
never
knows?
know.
He might be listening to Believe in People. You never know who
Absolutely.
does.
Of
Um,
course.
well, I mean, wow, okay, so you go from experience to experience to experience, which is a great. Your life sounds like a great use of next time you open up the dictionary, they should have your picture
Oh, I don't
next
know
to the
about
word
that, Kevin.
experience. So what keeps you alive? Don't you
Oh
ever
my
get down?
goodness. Good question. The reality is, and this is what I love about Spencer. We created Spencer to be a
Spencer magazine,
platform.
which we need to talk
Spencer
about.
magazine.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And where did the
Uh,
name Spencer come from?
oh, okay. Good Lord. There's another
Diana
story.
Spencer.
Okay. So I had this editorial board. Well, there is a connection there. But what happened was I had this editorial team of people from film, television, radio, music, et cetera, literary arts. And they were bugging. We had all these board meetings going up to the first issue of Spencer, and we still didn't have a name. And I decided, well, I'm just going to call it my name. Sure, why not? My wife didn't like that very much at all. She thought, no, 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 you can't do that. So I'm walking around. I'm like going up and down my streets. I live in Parkdale, and walking up and down my streets, and I look up to the sky and I see this sign. It was extraordinary. It was like the light came on. Hallelujah. Yeah, the sign. It was a road sign called Spencer, which happens to be the street that I live on. And so I'm like, wow, this is interesting. I raced home, Googled the name or the word Spencer, and I discovered that it was about a 400-year-old word that describes a dispenser, shortened form to Spencer, which is a person that provides information and or provisions.
Wow.
Boom, a magazine provides information. So it all worked out. And they were thrilled that it wasn't going to be called Schur. Sure, right? I liked it. I still like it. But no, I love Spencer more. But as it turned out, one of the gentlemen on my editorial team is second cousins to the Spencer family.
Wow.
And so he was just thrilled with that. But anyways, that's it.
And
So, okay, so you start this magazine, and
Yes.
Spencer Magazine. It's sort of it's a creative, the arts, anything in the music, entertainment,
Yes.
film, television, luxury items, luxury items.
Yes.
And so, And you've interviewed so many people. I mean, can you share a memorable experience where Spencer Magazine played like a key role in launching or maybe significantly advancing an artist's career? Did that ever happen?
Oh, yes. This is why I find this so incredibly rewarding. In the very first issue, I was at a huge fashion show. There's like 3,500 people, and my managing editor and I were sitting in the front row, and there were like maybe 15 designers, and they were all very good. But this one gentleman came out, and I was so intoxicated by his design. He was just phenomenal. So I'm not a shy guy. You probably could tell by now. So I stood up in the middle of all these thousands of people, and I started clapping, bravo, bravo, bravo. And he, tipped his hat to me, and I went on to go. You know what? I'm gonna feature you. I ended up giving him like 16 pages in the first issue,
Wow.
and he's ended up becoming a great friend. A year later, after being in the publication, he gets a call to be in the Paris Fashion Week, which his career was, we were in Toronto. His career was really kind of stabilized. It really wasn't going anywhere. This has been duplicated so many times in this issue. I could go on and on with all the people that we've helped. Uh, but that is the most incredible reward for me because I go to a lot of events. I go to as many events as I possibly can, and along with a lot of my teammates at Spencer. But it's incredible the feeling of looking across the room and making eye contact with somebody, and all of a sudden the seas of people part, and this person will charge towards me and give me hugs and kisses. Well, not always kisses, but always hugs. And they would tell me like, "Oh my goodness, thank you so much. You won't believe what this has done for my career." Whether it's a musician or an artist, it doesn't matter. Our platform is to help people achieve their dreams and goals. We're a people magazine. And although we're a luxury lifestyle magazine, we'll never be pretentious. We're very grounded, very down to earth, very approachable. And it isn't just me that has earned that opportunity and that reward. It's all my people, all the people that are on the Spencer team. And I've surrounded myself with the most incredible, incredible, competent people. I'm so excited. And that's going way back, Kevin. That's part of the whole parcel of what keeps me kind of young at heart, I suppose. Even though I am this close to 70, I don't feel it because most of the people I'm working with energize me. It's just like I'm on Red Bull every morning when I come in.
We're going to have to hook you up with one of our previous guests, another woman from Toronto named Nan Devitt Tremblay, who
Oh, I'm
filmed
sure
behind the
Joseph knows.
scenes.
I'm sure Joseph knows. She was a fashion icon at
She filmed behind the scenes for fashion television in Paris for many years, and
Oh, yes.
it's doing a thing. When you talk about this satisfaction that you get from meeting others who you have helped, you've just kind of said that's what keeps you young. But I want to get back to the experience thing, and that is that this desire of yours to experience as much as possible, now that you say you're approaching 70, are you mentoring others to sort of do the same thing?
Or alternatively, they are actually mentoring me, quite
Bra-
frankly. I
Bravo.
mean, in so many different areas with emerging technologies, with AI, for example, we're doing some very exciting things with the magazine. Even though we're print, we're doing some. I can't really talk about it right now, but so all these emerging technologies and all the software and all these things that are happening. I mean, social media, that's wonderful too, obviously. But no, these young people that are coming into our office are extraordinary. Um, it's exciting to come into the office every morning and and just create opportunities for everybody. That's incredible. It's such an extraordinary feeling.
So how does a print magazine survive?
yeah, I was going to ask that.
Oh, it's not easy. I mean, when we started, my wife and I poured our life savings into it, and it's been a struggle, but advertisers are coming around. Our strategic partnerships are evolving. COVID hit us very, very hard. as I was saying, we launched the very first issue in 2020. We started in 2019, and a lot of people were, Joseph, like, just put it on hold. And I had made commitments to people. I decided, no, we're forging ahead. And we have been all along. We've been publishing right along. And I'm very proud of that. And not just for me, but I mean, also with my team, I couldn't let them down and put it on hold. So we kept going.
Yeah. And Joseph, what motivated you to start the magazine in the first place?
Frustration. I was the editor-in-chief of this other publication. I won't say any names. It was a decent magazine, print magazine. And I didn't really have the creative license that I desired. So I left that magazine. I decided, I might do some other things with my life. I don't know, but all the people that I had on my team at that point were like, Joseph, you're pretty good at this editor-in-chief stuff. Why don't you just launch your own magazine? I'm like, well, okay, you gonna help? And sure enough, that was the momentum to get me started, and that was the evolution and how I actually created my first editorial board. And so they pushed me. I've never had any regrets about doing it. From a financial perspective, yes, it's been very difficult. And I'll show you actually what the magazine looks like. This is not just like your ordinary kind of publication. By the way, that's Yannick Bisson on the cover. I don't know if you can see it. He's the star and director of Murdoch Mysteries. Really nice gentleman. Yannick is just fantastic. But just to give you an idea, the paper, we used only the very best materials. And it's a book. I mean, it's 200 pages, and we absolutely love it. I mean, so the idea of going into print instead of digital, it was a tough call to do that. But you know what? The feedback, and the other thing is the feedback that we've had has been extraordinary. One of the things that we do that Maria, I don't think anybody else in the world does this. No. We actually print, half of our copies are in hardcover with a dust jacket.
Wow.
Like, and people on there, it's an actual coffee table publication. And
how often do you publish, Joseph?
4 times a year.
And the hardcover the same?
No. Like, for example, well, I have a wall full of earlier covers, but no, the cover is always changing. And I'll give you just a little hint of who's on the upcoming cover.
Is the hardcover 4 times a year as well?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes.
Oh, hard end.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Who's your upcoming? Let's hear this. Let's hear the scoop.
Okay. The TV show Stranger Things.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Full Metal Jacket. Cutthroat Island. Matthew Modine.
Oh, Matthew.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Oh, he's a wonderful gentleman. I absolutely have so much respect for him. But our angle in the upcoming issue is specifically not in his acting career, but in his conservation and environmentalism. He's quite the advocate. And he's doing a documentary series called The Ripple Effect, and several others focusing on his conservation advocacy. And so that's what is the underlying theme throughout the whole upcoming issue. So we're very, very excited about it. Not necessarily that I'm a tree hugger, but the older I get, the more I appreciate what we are doing to this planet. It's just utterly insane. And so I'm thrilled to have Matthew on board. But my introduction to him, we weren't friends. One of my closest friends is a gentleman from Toronto, actually, called Stephen Wallace, who is a relatively sensational director, and he directed Matthew's current movie called The Martini Shot, and starring, of course, Matthew and Sir Derek Jacobi, John Cleese, Stuart Townsend, a number of other actors. It was shot in Ireland. Wonderful, wonderful film. And so that was my introduction to Matthew.
Huh.
Well, you tried your hand at acting as well, as part of your ginormous resume. Curriculum
vitae. It hasn't finished yet. I'm still working on a lot of other things, but okay. Yeah, I've been an actor. I started when I was 22 or so in Hollywood. I had this, thinking about mentors, I had this incredible mentor. He was a dancer, an actor, and pretty much a TV star. Remember Beverly Hills Billies? The gentleman that played
Buddy Ebsen.
Buddy Ebsen. He was my mentor.
Yeah.
So he got me started in acting in Hollywood.
Barnaby Jones as well.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And where did the screenwriting come into play?
Uh, well, I started screenwriting at a very early age. You know, well, we could talk for hours. I'm sorry, but I know we're a finite amount of time. But when I was a kid, my dad bought me a 8 millimeter camera back in those days, a little film camera. And I was maybe 12 or 13 years old. And I wanted to be really popular with the girls. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna start making movies. Didn't work, by the way. It made me a nerd, but that's okay. That's besides the point. So I started making all these short films, and I started screenwriting at the same time. I was motivated with Spielberg and others, but I mean, it stayed. And the reason why I was abducted by aliens in Texas was because I had written this script. One of my best friends, his brother was a literary agent in Hollywood. I'd written this script when I was in the Florida Keys, and I went to Hollywood with that. And then after that, to make a long story relatively short, I had an accident. I fell off a cliff in Hollywood, ended up in a wheelchair for a while,
You
and
fell off a
returned to
cliff?
Toronto. Oh
What
yeah,
cliff?
in the Hollywood Hills, actually. I broke both my legs. I was a mess. I was an actor, writer, no money. Fortunately, my mom in Toronto gave me a ticket home, and so I ended up returning home. I guess I was about 26 at the time, and in a wheelchair, thinking that possibly I'd be stuck in a wheelchair forever. Well, my acting days were probably somewhat limited, but writing was my fallback,
Right.
and that was my wheelhouse, anyways. So I started writing and ended up going to film school, and that's how Big Ship Productions ended up happening. As a matter of fact, in Vancouver, and one thing led to another, and I've continued. I still write screenplays. I think I've written over 80 or so.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Wow.
been a fun journey. It's very
Any,
cathartic.
I
Very
bet it was.
cathartic
And it
writing.
really, your storytelling. I mean, everything that you do lends itself into the creative of what you're publishing. That's what probably
Absolutely.
makes it so eclectic.
Exactly. I mean, I borrow from my experience as a writer with each issue of Spencer, in that it's all about storytelling. There are arcs, just like when you think about a script. There are arcs, are points, peaks and valleys, and that's how we designed Spencer right from the get-go.
Well, probably had your filmmaking started out the way Hugh Hefner's did, you would have had a different kind of career. But I do want to ask you about, it sounds to me like your parents purchased a chemistry set for you. They purchased the camera.
Oh,
It
well,
sounds,
let's back up with the chemistry set.
but
Yeah. Um, Here I am. They set up this big monster laboratory in our basement. And I had these friends, these bully friends that wanted me to create some explosives for them. I mean, potassium nitrate and sulfur and chocolate and all that. So I
yeah,
learned how to make explosives. That didn't last long. I kind of blew up part of our basement. And
but
unfortunately,
they
my
never
parents were
seem.
like, "That's it. You're finished. You're hanging up your lab coat." Because I really was like a mad scientist. I'd scramble home from school and I'd throw on my lab coat, and there I was experimenting with all kinds of things. So they figured it'd be a lot safer to buy me a camera, which they did.
Yeah, but they were feeding your dreams every step along the way. It sounds like
They
and
were
even if you had a
absolutely.
setback, they picked you up.
They, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I have a lot of respect for my parents. My trajectory going into the creative arts, which is a dangerous field to actually go into, financially, like, it's the stability is not there when you're in the arts, obviously. But no, they've always supported all my dreams. And
Joseph,
dreaming is what
do
I
you have any
do.
siblings?
Just one sister,
Ah,
and she's just a normal person. Well, I'm normal too. I honestly,
define normal.
I'm pretty normal. But I mean, no, she's a normal computer science person. Whatever she does, I have no idea.
So how do you see, you mentioned Murdoch Mysteries a little bit
Yes.
earlier, which is a show that is seen internationally. There aren't a lot of Canadian shows that are seen internationally, although, Schitt's Creek made a big
Mhm.
hit. I'm a big fan of Shorzy
Mhm.
and those sorts of things. Seeing that we are talking to a Canadian in Toronto right now, uh, presumably somewhere near Spencer Avenue, Spencer Magazine.
Yes.
What is the state of the arts these days? And do you have any hope for it?
Oh, enormous hope. I mean, it's unbelievable. When I started out, we had to, oh my goodness. I remember in film school, my wife just hated this. We would buy end reels, film stock from production companies. And my fridge was full because you had to keep them cold. My fridge was full of 50-foot and 70-foot 35 mil reels of film. And then you had to rent the equipment and this and that. It was expensive. Today, you take a 4K or an 8K iPhone and you can shoot a feature film. I didn't have that luxury when I graduated from film school. But so today, what I'm seeing, and I meet a lot of filmmakers, they are using this medium of digital to create incredible stories. And it's something that I didn't have access to because everything had to be budgeted. You had to have ratios of 3-to-1 shooting. Nowadays, you shoot, and it's extraordinary what I'm seeing. And also the editing suites that you have available and access to sound and music scores is extraordinary too. I mean, again, we didn't have that when I was graduating from film school. So I'm seeing a lot of very entrepreneurial, spirited people that would maybe possibly never have dreamed of pursuing a career or as an amateur, not a professional, in this field.
Wow.
So, yeah,
And
incredibly
and Joseph, I
optimistic.
mean, Joseph, we could be, as you said, speaking for hours. You're a fascinating human being. And,
Thank you. I don't know.
yes, you are. And each week we ask our guests this one question, but we're going to kind of turn it around because we know you believe in people. But what is it about your magazine or the opportunity that you offer others that makes them believe in the belief of believing in people? Like, what is that spark for them?
I think the spark is that I see, because we're all a mirror of each other. I think the spark is when people see how passionate I am in creating a platform for everybody else, not me. I know that sounds incredibly altruistic, and to a certain extent I am, but it goes back to my point about the reward. And it's so incredibly rewarding for what we are doing for people, but what they are doing for us. So believing in people is in believing in yourself and having that spirit of generosity. To me, that's the big thing.
Joseph Schur, editor of Spencer Magazine. He's done everything except be an astronaut, but he's not done yet.
Kevin, I'm working on that. I'm absolutely.
I believe that.
Honest to goodness,
Thank you so much. Thanks so
Thank you
much
so
for being
much,
our
Joseph.
guest.
Well, it's been just such an honor and a pleasure. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you so
Cheers.
much. Take
And
care.
Thank you for believing
Bye
in
for now.
people. Cheers.
That's my astronaut salute. Cheers.
Oh, the one thing that I see in Joseph that's really bridges the gap to the work that he's doing, from the magazine to the people that he's meeting, is that he inspires people, he motivates them, he helps them, and in turn, he's inspired and motivated. So it's just such a win-win. That's what I love about the fact that he's doing such good in the world, with the magazine that he's created.
It's like the circle is unbroken, everything that goes around comes around. And what a great example, and what a life story that he has to tell. And if you want to hear another life story, tune in again next week to Believe in People, or subscribe to our podcast where you subscribe to all the other podcasts, but none of them are as fulfilling as this one. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.